live. Hello, everyone. Please tell me how good you hear me, how good you not. I welcome you to this stream. I was really actually looking into if I should find another guest or we should give, some kind of common platform with someone else during today. However, at some point, I just figured out that we haven't really had a chat with you like almost at all for a while now. We didn't have like a solo where I can answer your questions. And I noticed that while the guest appearances are really nice, we do miss a lot of what you're communicating to us. And I just feel that it's a little bit unfair. Firstly, I want to say big thanks to all of the moderator teams, and I'm hoping you will give them a hand and say thanks to everyone that are helping this channel be what it is. Without them, I would not be able to be half as efficient as I am. And secondly, thank you all so much for watching this and supporting all of the previous videos. I really welcome you today, this evening. Write me where you're from, write me how are you feeling. Remember, if you want to ask a question, write at Ukraine Matters, because then the message just gets highlighted for me, so I'm able to then find your essentially question and respond. With that said, welcome. Let's start today's stream. Now, I have a little bit of a talk prepared, kind of the topic, but it's kind of more of a secondary nature because I still plan to do a lot of stuff in the videos. Like I still plan to talk a lot about other stuff in the videos. So today we're going to be talking mostly with you. I'm going to be answering your questions and your proposed topics, but we have a really nice idea that's going to come up quite soon. More importantly, as you know, there is a request still for a blackout on the situation with regards to Ukrainian counteroffensive. I can talk in general what I think, I can talk in general, but I will not be discussing any details on where Ukrainian troops are moving, where they're concentrating, yada yada. You know the drill. Let's go. Whoa, Sweden. Welcome people from Sweden. Very nice. Portugal. Very nice to meet you. RF from USA. Welcome. Slava moderators, indeed, Slava moderators, guys. That sounds really good. Really good. Hello. Hi, everyone. Yes, for the music playlist, remember we have now a bot that can give you, if you write, I believe, exclamation mark music or exclamation mark playlist, it will give you the link to the playlist. I'm still trying to figure out how the YouTube content aware policy, because last time stream got cut off because of me playing some of the music. But as you've seen in this intro, there was half of it was music that was stock elevator music, whereas the other part was some of the nice songs that I think would be fitting well. I would love to play more Ukrainian music, but the copyright strikes are hitting me really hard. That's really bad. Jets 115, thank you so much for 20 given Ukraine members memberships. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Greetings from UK. Oh, UK is gonna be good. I've heard UK is hosting Eurovision. Now Eurovision is coming along quite soon. I'm not sure if people from US are following Eurovision. I wouldn't expect that, but I'm actually having interesting question to people from Australia. Do you follow Eurovision? Like, is it a thing in Australia? Because I'm still not sure how big Eurovision is in Australia. You tell me. Yes, let's go. Please, you can start already writing your questions, guys. I see a lot of opinion on no fuckers. People always bitch because I don't like Russians, right? Because I feel that a lot of Russians are not doing what they're supposed to do. And no fuckers for me is the same problem as majority of the liberal opposition in Russia. They talk a lot. Cool. But it's like what is he doing? It's like I haven't been following him, like, I gotta be fair. I haven't been following him for a while now, but in general, I still feel it's the same problem that I have with many other Russians, that they are still seeing this as something that they are not part of, that they're seeing this situation as if not that they have a responsibility for it. They're saying, oh no, it's Putin and like his regime and whatnot. It is not our job to resist and fight him, right? And this is something I can never truly forgive. Like, I can understand that like he's against the regime and whatnot and so on, but remember, this is not Putin's war, right? This is a whole Russians war. So I understand why people feel this sentiment towards Russians, but I do not share it. I do not like Russians. I do not like Russian opposition. I think they talk a lot, and I think they're just hiding themselves and they're like closing their eyes and seeing no evil, hearing no evil, and like saying no evil by just saying that's like, okay, this war is not my war, so I'm not responsible for it. I cannot forgive that. Nice to see you tonight. Yes, absolutely. Get permission from the copyright holders. Yeah, probably that's the problem one. The problem is that like it's about to I'm not gonna start it. It's a meta discussion. We can talk meta discussion, I don't know, somewhere else. Have you seen Malcolm Nance memorial for the ghost? You mean the ghost of Kiev, like so-called ghost of Kiev, the pilot whose call sign was Grandpa? Do you mean that? Kela Hela? I forgot, I need to say your names because chat is not seen. Yes. Matt James, thanks for 20 bucks. Love from PNW. I need to Google where it is because PNW. PNW components. Pacific Northwest. Is PNW Pacific Northwest? I hope it is. Well, wherever you're from, Matt, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Dumb Trump. Georgie, the whole world is represented in the chat apart from the failed states. So good to see you. So good to see you, Dumb Trump. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much for joining everyone. Like, I see like we really are from all over the world. It's incredible. Incredible. And we're already 800. So thanks so much for liking and sharing. Link to this video, whatnot. It's pretty good. Kellen Dunn, I heard that Russia shifted its targets from energy infrastructure to Ukrainian military sites. Are these rear attacks becoming an issue for the armed forces of Ukraine? So I can answer shortly and I can answer extensively. Shortly, not really. Extensively, Russia at the start of the war, why, like, we need to understand why Russia came to the strategy of bombing Ukrainian energy infrastructure and critical infrastructure. Because what Russia discovered extremely quickly with their bombing campaign after starting and using their missiles and whatnot is that their missiles, they're not very precise, and their missiles are also having issues hitting the target. Even the target, if the target is stationary, there is a big chance that a missile will just miss it like about half a mile. And even like lighter missiles would have the same issue. So what Russia basically looked at and said, okay, so Ukraine reshuffled their strategic assets. We don't know where are their training facilities. We don't know where they storing their ammunition. We don't know where they're storing their weapons. And someone says like, oh yeah, but Russia probably has all the intelligence about where NATO equipment and where Ukraine is storing. No. Remember, when Russia was invading and planning invasion, the troops came in with like plans from like the Soviet times, with the roadmaps from Soviet times. It was a big trouble for them even navigating around Kiev area because a lot of the roads from the Soviet times were not existing anymore. Moreover, we know that a couple of the missile strikes before Russia started targeting infrastructure were targeted at the military strategic objects that were not there for 25, 30 years. It was discovered by many open source intelligence analysts. That's like, oh, Russia hit this building right here. Why? Well, oh, there was like a missile depot here in 1970s. And then And then they struck. I remember they struck. I believe it was Vinica, I think, when they struck the Dom Oficerov, which is literally like, it's just the name, the officers, like it's the name of the building is the House of the Officers, but House of the Officer is essentially just like a local theater-ish. So Russia has very poor intelligence, extremely poor. And a lot of that intelligence is also very clouded by a lot of Ukrainians. So when you're saying is like, well, why don't Russia just strike the locations where Ukraine is holding a lot of their important strategic assets? Firstly, their missiles cannot hit them because they're imprecise. Secondly, because they cannot hit anything that is moving. So the missiles Russia's having was really, really bad. Therefore, Russia said, okay, let's just strike big stationary targets like power plants, and then deprive Ukraine of electricity. And they did that campaign. And at the start of campaign, I said like, well, it's going to be impossible to completely cut off the electricity for Ukraine. And we saw that the worst case scenario was basically about 20-30% of Ukraine without electricity, which was going as a was called fanned lights out. Oh my god! Like I'm brain farting. So yes, fanned blackouts. There we go. So in that sense, Russia was trying to do this campaign, but even in that one they failed. So now they're saying, okay, now we're gonna strike Ukrainian command units. Well, everything that I said before still applies to command units. So Russia needs to make sure that intelligence tells them where these units are. Then this information needs to get to the rocket forces. Then these rocket forces needs to find how to coordinate their strike. And they need to strike the target before it's moving. And hopefully that target is huge. And it's not like, you know, some kind of small vehicle somewhere under the trees. That's pretty much the situation. So will this be a problem for Ukraine? No. Russia will be probably striking, like oil storage plants or oil storage facilities, gas storage facilities. But Ukraine has been adapting to it as well. And Ukrainian command is well aware that this is going to be exactly the primary targets that Russia is going to hit now that it stopped hitting the energy infrastructure because they failed so hard. That's the long answer. I hope I answered that. How do you feel about, Kalandan asks, how do you feel about Kara Murza? There are a couple of Russians that I respect. I told you that I don't like Russians because they're not doing anything. There are Russians that are or have been doing certain things, and I have certain respects for them. Kara Murza was one of the most respected Russians that I ever kind of knew. Kara Murza was, instead of doing a lot of political campaigning for himself and whatnot, he was actually working on a very specific actions to fight Putin's government. He was actual fighter. Now, I don't agree that he should have stayed in Russia, but he was a big fighter. So Kara Murza, I respect. I believe he's been his integrity has been very consistent all throughout his life. So I can only say that this is a huge pain, and I would love him to get back. Second, if you want to know, the second kind of Russian that I respect a lot is Garry Kasparov. Garry Kasparov, again, he has been very consistent on his position about Russia, the imperialism, the Putin, and everyone else. The problem with Garry Kasparov is that he's not very popular inside of Russia. So while his position has been extremely consistent, he's been always very loud and outspoken about it. He has little to no influence in Russia. So like if I compare it to someone like Alexei Navalny's and his organization is huge. They have hundreds of different cells where they know people, so where they send information. Kasparov doesn't really have that. So it's a little bit of a little bit of a sad part that Kasparov, while his position being kind of probably the most accurate one, if I would put a Russian position what it needs to be, but unfortunately he just doesn't have any leverage. And the problem is he thinks he has, right? So he continues working in a paradigm that he thinks he has, but he doesn't. That's just the truth. Cyclone the Seahawk. The Ukrainian counter-offensive won't take back all of Ukraine. Right. That's not expected, no. How much land do you hope to see Ukraine take back before meeting enough Russian resistance? This is not about, like, it's always hard for me to talk just because of the nature of the channel, because I mostly speak, like, with people here that maybe don't have the full knowledgeability about how military tactics works, like what's the purpose of the military and whatnot. Even I didn't know that. Like, I was as I explained in my last video, layman, and only because I now was deep diving into this for a year, now I understand this a bit more. But a lot of people that talking and we're discussing it here is just people that have their jobs and just want to find out the situation and find out, is Ukraine winning or not, and can we support it more and whatnot. And the problem of discussing, like, with whether or not counteroffensive will be a success or not, is that people look at the counteroffensive and they are thinking that Ukraine needs to take land back. While land in itself can be an indicator of successful counteroffensive and generally offensive, it is not necessary. Counteroffensive and, like, the purpose of military now in a war, when the militaries clash, the purpose of one military is to destroy the military of the offensive of the other side. And this can be done by either starving it from resources, the logistics, or just directly killing everyone. So a counteroffensive, to be successful, it can do those different things. It either can strike and put Russian troops in an extremely uncomfortable situation to be in Ukraine, so that will mean that they will have to retreat to more favorable defensive positions because they will receive not very positive rate of attrition. That is what we saw around Kharkiv offensive. That is what will correspond to essentially counteroffensive being represented in a land grab. Other than that, Ukraine can just engage Russian forces and start destroying Russian forces intensively by doing maybe local attacks and destroying local forces on certain parts, and then maybe not moving as far in a land sense, but having some of the good maneuvers and destroying some of the fighting capabilities of the Russians in a very big sense. That would be also a big success of the counteroffensive, because, as remember, the purpose of the one army is to destroy the other one. Then the third option is reaching strategic targets. In this case, it would be, for example, cutting Russian supply lines in half, so cutting the groupings in half, and, for example, striking Crimean Bridge again. Those would be two incremental strategic improvements of a Ukrainian position on the battle, on the front lines. So if Ukraine, for example, without even moving that far, maybe they make like a small corridor, but they're able to cut logistics in between two parts of Russians without inflicting heavy damage, without taking a lot of land, and then, for example, also be able to strike Crimean Bridge, well, that is also a successful counteroffensive. So to answer that question, would a land grab by land retrieval for Ukraine itself be an indicator of successful counteroffensive? Not necessarily. I would hope for a strategic outcomes first and foremost. I would hope and look out for Crimean Bridge to be struck, or at least Ukraine cutting, if not physically, then like going deep enough in one maybe small area to intercept connection of logistics in between those two groups. That would be a success in my book. Would you invite Michael Clark for a live stream, please? He's a military expert with a great voice. NGC7603B. Oh, Michael Clark. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he remembers my comments, but when the war started, he was an expert that was invited, if I believe, on Sky News. And when the siege of Kiev started, he would come every day to the Sky News and talk that Russia is about to encircle Kiev, because that's what, like, you know, his understanding of the war is. Michael Clark, in my perspective, like now listening to many analysts over this year, Michael Clark has a lot of the issue that he is very by the book type of analyst. He's not necessarily wrong, but what I feel that he is missing a lot of on the ground kind of perception of what this war is for Russians and Ukrainians. He is literally analyzing it as an academic, as a by the book analysis. Like, Russia has larger force, Ukraine has smaller force, Russia has all the advantage, therefore Russia will encircle Kiev. Yet then there were analysts saying, no, Russians are stuck on the ground, they're running out of food and resources, Ukrainians are sabotaging them, they cannot make it. And we all know where the analysis was going in around Kiev. So huge respect to Michael Clark, but I just feel that in this conflict he is somewhat imprecise in his judgments on the Russian and Ukrainian capabilities, and have been. Mark Marguera, do you think Will Ferrell will crash the Eurovision Song Contest? I hope so. Andres. Okay, wait a second. Oh, that's what happens when I answer too long. The chat just runs away. H. Saured, Ukraine matters. What Russian brain farts will Ukraine hit to gas the orcs? Thanks for the $14. I think very toxic brain farts it will hit. Hans Eriksson, keep up the good work. Love and respect from Sweden. Thanks, Hans. Appreciate it. Tuck. Average Joe, thanks for 10 Canadian bucks. With Russia now using 500-kilometer glide bombs, will allies finally give a go-ahead on Western fighter jets? Also, any news on the additional Challengers? Haven't heard news on additional Challengers. We had a confirmation on the Abrams. This is something we discussed with Mercado Media last stream that we did. But with regards to planes, I already wrote a post on the community page where we have entered the stage of this dance again, where there are voices that in the political aspects saying it's like, no, giving Ukraine planes will be too much of escalation and whatnot. And my problem with that is that Ukraine, for the most part, is supplied, let's be honest, it's not the best that we can give. Like, it's not like some kind of a breakthrough technologies. Now, they're all a lot better than the Russians, right? But like even F-16s, it's a plane from what? The 60s, the 70s, 80s? It's not a very new plane, right? Russia or Ukraine is not asking for F-35s or anything. So it's just so silly. You know, it's nothing that would be a game changing for any other nation. You know, it would be gladly sold to Poland, Baltics, whatnot. It's just like, but Ukraine, no. So we're doing again this political dance where some of the politicians think it's like, oh no, but what if Putin escalates? Oh no, it makes me sad. So I'm very, very sad about the situation of planes. I was hoping that after the great start of the year that we had, with IFV supplied, with tanks pledged. I was really hoping that we're onto something. I was hoping that finally, Western countries have understood that the resources that are needed for this war to be over needs to be increased significantly. And now we are back again falling on weird. We are repeating our own steps. We're walking in circles, and it's completely irresponsible to Ukrainian people. We say we want to stand with Ukrainians and support them and protect them from anything, and yet they say it's like, okay, we need more stuff. You're supplying us only with limited options. We are so close to victory. Just give us more shit. So, and we're like, the whole Ramstein meeting went, and basically nothing happened. And we're going to talk about Ramstein just a little bit later. It's just... just curious, when do Ukrainians have presidential elections? Zelensky doing great job. Hate to see when he has to step down. Right now, Ukraine is in the state of war, so there are no presidential election in the state of war. So they have been postponed until the war is over. Zelensky will go away after the war is over. Okay. Okay, if I missed your questions because chat went up a little bit and I cannot scroll more up. It wasn't me. I heard Russians are trying to sabotage Starlink in Ukraine. Is that true? Yes. And if so, are they successful? So far, bigger sabotage is Elon Musk. Elon Musk sabotaged a lot more Starlinks than Russians did. Arrived from USA. Do you think Putin will listen to the Wagner dickhead Prigozhin to halt the war and claim victory? That is not what Prigozhin said. Like, that is not what Prigozhin said. I've read his article that Prigozhin wrote, and I'm a native speaker of Russian, so just to make sure. So Prigozhin was very, very confused because he was doing like a little bit of a tap dance. Plus, he's not a very good writer. He's a very confused kind of writer. Like, I mean, he's not the most intellectually brilliant kind of person, if you would imagine. So Prigozhin's article was actually not talking about stopping the war. That is false. What Prigozhin was actually telling was that there are powers in Russia that wants this war to be essentially halted, and then we would claw in and then have this stalemate situation coming into the new Minsk. He was saying that it was the favorable situation that would be nice to have for a lot of people in power, like oligarchs or current Ministry of Defense representatives. Prigozhin, in his statement, was addressing Putin personally, and what he was saying is that no, that our way, we should go all in. We should go and fight, and if we win, we win. But if we lose, then that's even better, because then, Putin, you should say that it's the fault of all these oligarchs and Russian Ministry of the Defense generals, and they need to be punished for it. So if we have hit this wall and we lose, then we need to cleanse and completely purge this part of the party. Instead, I can support you in this, so put me in charge of those forces and we will cleanse that. And once Russia loses that, we will actually hit the bottom, and he says, and we will reform ourselves in this toughness, and we will rise as a phoenix, essentially, a lot stronger. So his idea was that because there is the swamp that needs to be drained, so he says, I can not just drain the swamp, I can burn the swamp down. And if we need to lose to burn it down, then so be it. But then we will be so much stronger. That was what he was saying in his speech. Not that we need to stop. No, completely the opposite. He said we need to fight, and we need to fight with the perception that we can lose, and that will be good. So if you win, good. If you lose, good. That's what, like, Prigozhin, win-win. It's a very weird logic. Like, he's not the most coherent person ever. Lil Bobs, would it be smarter for Ukraine to attack the northeast where org defenses are weaker and push them back to the border, effectively cutting the rush of logistics ahead? Lil Bobs, the problem is not the where to push. Like, I mean, we assume the attack is going to be on the south because it's such a huge strategic target. You know, it's like it's a huge win for Ukraine if it do it in the south. North side is a lot of land, yes, but strategic benefits that would go further the campaign are questionable. I want to quote kind of the former General Ben Hodges when he says that Crimea is the essentially the question is the land in question. Ukrainians can kill the whole Russian army several times over, and it would not change a thing on the battlefield. However, taking Crimea is gonna be a huge turning point in the war. So, in that sense, taking land in the north is beneficial to Ukrainian final cause, but it does not give a strategic and significant diversion in the way that the war has been going so far or will go further. David Oliver, thanks for £10. I just hope that the war ends with Ukraine with all territory that belongs to Ukraine. Yeah, that's for sure. Let us live in a world that stands up to tyranny. Respect your work, Georgie. Absolutely. That's the world I also hope we will end. That's the world I am doing my small part building towards, and I'm thanking you for helping me build towards. Remember, 50% of this channel's profits go to support Ukrainian military, and we're going to be doing from time to time, I believe next one is going to be next week, we're going to be additional supporting targeted donations to Ukrainian military. So you know, like the money that you spend don't go just to, you know, some administrative stuff that was happening inside of a big charities, but we get the fastest possible way to the troops on the front line. Carnifexor, yeah, just making sure. Thanks for $200. Would you consider interviewing retired General Ben Hodges and Malcolm Nance? Retired General Ben Hodges, yes, I would love it. Retired General Ben Hodges has been the most accurate person on this war. He's been predicting a lot, and his predictions have not been fully realized only because there is still hesitation from the Western powers, because he was always saying, if it will receive all the necessary capabilities, then Ukraine can be in Crimea by August. We're still seeing the hesitation to send in long-range artillery. We're still seeing the hesitation of starting providing of air assets to Ukraine. That is a little bit silly, but this is Malcolm Nance. I actually have not really encountered. Let me Google it. Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance, American author. American author and media pundit. He's a former United States senior chief petty officer specializing in naval cryptology. Nance is an intelligence and foreign policy analyst who frequently discusses the history, personalities, organization, jihadi radicalization, Al-Qaeda, and the Islamic State and ISIS, Southwest Asian. Interesting. I need to follow up. I need to follow up on what he's doing. I need to understand where he is. As far as I'm aware, he's doing something for Ukraine. Let me put a note in this. I will take a note for this, and then I will follow up on this one. Yes. But it sounds like a really nice person. So, absolutely. Mikau, hi, welcome back. I love your passion, your attention to details, your kickassery never stop. I will not, Carnifexar. I will not. Not until the war is over. I will continue doing what I'm doing until the war is over. This is how I fight. I am not a soldier. I am a fat guy that lives in Denmark. So, like, I don't really have a lot of, options. But if I can do something, if I can keep you motivated, if I can keep you informed, and also get some support to Ukrainian military, that's what I'm gonna do, and that's what I want to do. And thank you for supporting me. Bogdan Test Software. At Boris Nemtsov literally died for his beliefs. Nemtsov was a very divisive figure. Like, I know we now reflect on it and we like looking up parts in their biography that where they were against Putin, but Nemtsov had certain things, like I cannot remember any on top of my head, but I definitely remember that he was a divisive figure. He wasn't like all this knight in a white clad armor. So yeah, he's like, we now talk good about Nemtsov because of what, like mostly because of how atrocious Putin was. And he was like a personal enemy of Putin, but he was personal political enemy of Putin. And he was not the, how do you say, the most, I already said it. Tom Wright, you might want to change the order of the bottom 3 books on your shelf. Changed. There we go. Maxim Romaniuk, Ukraine really needs Occidental fighters? I'm not sure what you meant, Maxim. Occidental fighters. I'm not completely sure. Grayson, can Bakhmut hold until the victory parade this year? I hope so. I mean, remember, I made a bet that Ukraine will hold Bakhmut until counteroffensive. So, well, technically, Hannah Malia already said that the counteroffensive has begun. So my bet is good, I guess. You tell me, chat. Do you think my bet on Ukrainians not giving up Bakhmut before counteroffensive now is closed because counteroffensive has begun? Oh, this reminds me. If counteroffensive already begun, you owe me. You owe me. Go now to Ukraine 24 and send some, like, I don't know, $5 to support Ukrainian military. There you go. I told you Ukraine will not give up on Bakhmut, and you didn't believe me. Maybe you did. But go to the Ukraine 24 and donate $5 anyway. Kellen Dunn, my guess is that Ukraine's counteroffensive can cut supply lines and bridge get close enough to Kerch. Yes. How does world opinion and evidence of war crimes get through to average Russian population when FSB controls all media platforms inside Russia? I don't expect people inside Russia to be aware of the war crimes at all. Like, to be honest, I don't expect from people inside Russia pretty much anything. But there are plenty of Russians outside Russia. Also, it's some. I mean, let's put it mildly. Russians are not living inside of Russia in a glass box, in a completely enclosed box. They will tell you that they maybe don't know something, but if we watch channel 1420, we do know that they know. They know what's happening. They know. It's like so. It's. I mean, it's a long question. It's like Russians need to be doing more, and I'm not going to change my opinion. I know, dumb Trump, that you really want me, and you really want me to like cats, and I still don't like him. Russian opposition sucks. With Russia, okay, that one I read. Kellen Dunn, will Crimea be more like Kherson 2-0? Crimea, probably yes. Road to Crimea, maybe, but probably not. Roman, does Ukraine have own missile with range to Kerch Bridge? Missile, yes. The missile that can reach the Kerch Bridge and penetrate all of the air defenses, maybe. The problem is bridges are tough. bridges are really freaking tough. Remember Antonovsky Bridge, right? Ukraine struck it with HIMARS over 180 strikes, I believe it was in total. And the bridge still stood. The bridge was still operational. Well, to an extent. So, just reaching the bridge is not the same as destroying the bridge. Best bet to destroy the bridge is planes. Like, it should be an airstrike on the bridge to get it destroyed. Tom Wright, after Ukraine pushes Russia out of their internationally recognized territory, how do they establish peace without pushing into Russia itself? Demilitarization zone. Joining NATO also. 10 steps, 10 step peace plan by Zelensky. Otherwise, it's going to be like, well, basically Israel and Iran. Ukraine will just continue strengthening their air defenses, strengthening their artillery barrages, strengthening their borders, and destroying anything of Russian origin that comes closer to, like, I don't know, 30 kilometers or less or more, maybe 100 kilometers. Long-range capabilities. Long-range capabilities. Nicholas Belland, what do you think about talks that all Soviet-era air defense systems of Ukraine could be out of ammo soon? That talks have been like open discussion. I've talked this about the leaks, and as media always is, everyone is like, big surprise Pikachu face is like, oh, air defense assets running low, what? And then it's like, well, yes, that's what Ukrainians said themselves when Russia started using like all of these drones and like missiles to kick Ukrainian infrastructure, and then Ukraine said, we're having troubles with our air defense assets, they're running kind of low, we need more anti-air. The Western allies, please supply us with anti-air. And then Western allies like, oh yeah, sure, we should send more anti-air. And now Western allies are sending more anti-air. So that's, I mean, I don't know what to say. Which country do you originate from? Latvia. From when did you move to Denmark? In 2013. Greetings from Copenhagen. Hi, Eric. Eric Sonnenman. Schoenemann? That's interesting. Is it German last name? Like German origin? Very particular. But yeah, Eric, I moved to Denmark 10 years ago. I think General Ben Hodges is a better guest for you, potentially. Hopefully. I mean, like, I would be so proud if I would get General Ben Hodges on. Paul Massaro as a guest. Paul Massaro was already as my guest. We already talked with him. It was very nice. A little bit not my vibe. Like, Paul is a very cool guy. Superb supporter of Ukraine. I love him very much. But it's very hard for me to listen. He has this overwhelming energy that I just... it's really energizing some of the people, but for me it's more like it's taking energy from me, if this makes sense for you. So I really like Paul, but like I need to take him in the bite-sized pieces. Do you know if the armed forces of Ukraine are using Navarre Spike missiles, or other small guided munitions of that type? I think those would do well against drones. Let me Google. Ukrainians are using a lot. I haven't heard about the Navarre Spike. Let's see. Let me Google that. Navarre Spike. No, I haven't heard. I haven't heard that that's been. Oh, chat jumped again. Okay, if I miss questions, you know what happened. Jesus Christ, I missed so many questions. Oh, I'm too slow. I'm gonna speed it up, guys. Is it true that Putin has colon cancer? I've heard rumors until he's dead. I don't believe it. Will Ukraine army target military sites inside Russia now, or do they need consent from countries? Ukraine will target everything that it needs inside Russia. We finally had a movement on that. German minister, Petraeus, the one that I was shitting about and then I ate my words, said that we need to acknowledge that Ukraine has the right to strike inside Russia. So there's that. Russia's suffering in Ukraine. You need to know about Malcolm Nance. He's the "What's up, bitches? Shit's coming down" guy. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. I need to know. I need. Oh my god. I'm taking this code. This sounds amazing. Sounds like my kind of guy. Jeez. Would you do an interview with Anders Puck Nielsen? He's a Danish Navy. Yeah, that was Bogdan. That was in kind of mine my idea that I need to reach out to Anas, but like I tried to out to him on LinkedIn, but you need to have like a how do you say premium profile on LinkedIn to do it. I was like, damn it. So maybe I'll reach out to him like on the YouTube channel, but we'll see if we have something to talk about. He's a big fan of Russian opposition. He's a little bit naive in that perspective. He believes a lot in the Russian civil society, whereas I don't. So we might disagree on that. Maybe it would be an interesting episode. My favorite US generals are Ben Hodges, Wesley Clark, and Mark Hertling. All three predicted Ukraine would find stand last February. Nice, yeah, sounds good. Would you like to get Ben Wallace for an interview? No, that's not my profile. Like, look, I'm a guy on YouTube with no accreditation, right? I'm not even like one of the top bloggers. So I would just be taking time from a person of that caliber. So, yeah. Epic and legendary. Would NATO intervention in Ukraine spark an all-out war between NATO and Russia? Yes. I believe so. Though not in a way that you would imagine, because everyone thinks that's like if NATO fights Russia, then Russia instantly nukes and everything. I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't expect NATO to start intervention in Ukraine. It's like a dream scenario. So you have a fan in Professor Gerdes Explain. He posted a video discussing you and others last few days. Yeah, we talked with him. We actually had a video recording of him. We did a collab together. Professor Gerdes is interesting. Like he has interesting perspective. Who gives a flying fuck? I just want to say, considering the other perfect extreme ideology bodies, consider Laserpig, Animarchy, and of course PowerPoint Man Perun. Laserpig, I tried to reach out, but I think he forgot. Animarchy, I should probably reach out. I really love his content. Perun, I don't feel I am qualified to talk with Perun. like I always remember his videos, and like I learned so much from every single one of them that like I'm like, okay, I need to do better. Like every time I watch his videos, I reflect on myself and it's like I need to do better. You're not fat, you're just big bone. No, no, dude, I'm really fat. Like I'm actually like technically skinny, but I'm skinny fat. Mark Majera, any chance of connecting with Brandon Mitchell while he's out of Ukraine? Where, Mark? That's a interesting question. Maybe we'll have an answer. I never said anything. Malcolm Nance has some controversies to be aware of. Oh, okay. I don't know what controversies. Write me which controversies. Controversies he has? Why is he controversial? Do you know anything about Donbas Devushka? She scammed orc supporters that's helping. I mean, she was like the third grade Russian propagandist. I believe she was not even Russian. Jake Bro did a whole expose on her, so you should watch Jake Bro's video on it. Ingboy, Q, after Ukraine wins, Q question, like after Ukraine wins, what kind of bottle will you open? What is your best celebration liquid poison? Oof. That's a good question. I never thought. Not a big drinker, to be honest. But you will see it probably because we'll open the battle with Starsky. I'm expecting that. Tosun Abi, why finally now the West approved Ukraine striking infrastructure logistics? Well, they haven't approved. They just started discussion, so there is not official approval yet. What's changed? What's finally started to see? I mean, it's because it's common sense. Like the fact that the West is required. Oh my god. Sorry, dying over here. I have a how do you say colon cancer or something. I don't, but it's a reference to previous quote about Putin. Maybe you can deduct it by pictures of me, or like how I'm sitting, or how I'm holding the chair, or something like this. But nothing changed. Like the fact that Ukraine should strike inside Russia is a dumb restriction. It's a self-imposed restriction by the West. They just finally need to realize that this is like, why are they doing it? Why are they hindering Ukraine? It's the same thing with support. Why are they hindering themselves in not supplying F-16s? So it's a little bit stupid. Occidental, Western. Ah, Western. Nice, nice. So the question was like, does Ukraine need West Occidental, which is Western fighters? Pilots, yes. Fighters with experience, but not like me, not like hobbyists. Those are not needed. What's your opinion on the Russian mentality? Do you think Russia can be stopped from wanting to land grab in the future without suffering immense casualties? Paldies. Korel Tavi. So, when you want to understand Russian mentality, I always recommend listening to Vlad Vexler. He has a great, deep understanding of how Russians work. But in my perspective, Russians have a lot of they never reflected on themselves, right? They never reflected that whatever they did was wrong. It was always, yeah, someone might argue it was manipulated by the regimes that Russian were part of and so on. They had better shit to worry about, yada yada. There are many, many excuses that are made. But the point still stands. Russia never really reflected on why dominating your neighbors with force, why is this not cool? And Russia has never reflected on it. And I believe nothing will change globally until Russians do. Until Russians do reflect. I'm not sure what form it's going to be. If it's going to be a program that the West introduced to Russia, or what I think better is that Russians figure out themselves. But until we see something like this happening, until we see Russians actually reflecting, and that will be reflected in the broader society, Russians will still look at their neighbors and consider that they need to be like just subjects. They will be looking at everyone around them as just lesser beings. That's just how they are. Love your work. Keep it up. Thanks, Shake from the Hunger Team. John Richards, thanks for £5. Shake, by the way, from thanks for $50. Appreciate it. United 24. Yes, sorry. Please turn the mic facing your face, bruh. Bruh. The mic is facing my face, bruh. So I'm going to explain how microphones work, okay? So on microphone, there is this red light. This indicates the front of the microphone. Here is the front of the microphone. When I am in the mode that takes the sound from the front of the microphone, that's where the sound comes into microphone. So Well, well, you just missed the whole rant. Too bad. Well, it's my fault, but you missed it. Should I repeat it? Okay, chat. If I haven't answered your question, rewrite it. I want to read your comments. Welcome back. Thank you. Last 4 minutes, lol. Oh my god. Jeez. Lol. That was great. That was great. That was great. Okay, and we're back. Yes, it happened because of the question about the microphone. I have the wire that goes into microphone, so when I turn the microphone, that's when the sound disappeared. All right, so TLDR. When I talked about the microphone, this is the front of the microphone, so this is where I'm speaking, so this is where it picks up. With the TLDR, what I was saying is the question was that people ask me why I think that the counteroffensive haven't started and why I'm so wrong in my last video. And I explained that I did not say that. I specifically went and saw the video that I didn't say that. Because what I said is that I am a layman and a lot of people that are watching me are like, well, just normal people. They want to follow how Ukraine is doing, how Ukraine is performing, and so on. But they are completely uninterested in like a small, more academic descriptions of what a counteroffensive is, such as it's like, oh, it's preparations, it's the shaping activities, and so on. For a layman, like a counteroffensive is when Ukrainians go forth and start kicking the Russians out, right? And some people instantly said like, but like you're describing the end scenario. No. When Ukrainians start kicking Russians out, that's not yet the end scenario. This is where it's starting. Now, people also say, but you cannot define what counteroffensive is for like military and what it is like for a normal person. Then you can define anything. Yes, that's what we're doing in a world. Like I give you an example as an academic theory and like a word theory that we're using as a layman. In academia, theory is something completely different from like in completely opposite specter of that's definition. So for a layman, a counteroffensive that we all are expecting, at least I'm thinking so, are that the Ukrainians are going to start destroying Russians and Russians are going to start running in panic and whatnot and shitting themselves in fear. That's what we hope to hear from our counteroffensive, at least in my perspective. I am pretty sure there are many other channels that are following the war, channels that are discussing what's the top speed of specific tank when it's driving backwards, the exciting stuff. Not for me. Like, I am really interested in this normal, average person's understanding what I need to know about Ukraine and how good or bad Ukraine is doing and how the war is going and how much we need to support it. And we do need to support it. So I wonder if half of the people left while I was muted. Jesus Christ. No. Oh, okay, good. We're still 1400. Thank you so much for continuing watching me. Let's continue. Your questions. Wow. Tozanabi, which Ukrainian weapons will make big difference in the upcoming Ukraine offensive? Bradley's, infantry fighting vehicles are listed as one of the top vehicles for the counteroffensive action, but I'm also expecting engineering equipment to shine. I expect a lot of the mining operation would need to be performed. What do you think would be the most troublesome obstacle during the offensive? Landmines? No, aviation. Everyone is saying only one thing, that aviation is going to be a big problem for the counteroffensive because Russia has plenty of planes. They can fly and they will use that to substitute for their lack of precise artillery that they have. They will use planes. Can you explain how your webcam works? No. You'll have to Google. ChatGPT it. Robert Harrington, other channels are not as good as yours and your style. I mean, they're different. I think good is a very subjective perspective. Some people like to eat shit. That's they like just the taste of shit. They like how crunchy and chewy it is. So they watch, like, I don't know, some pro-Russian channels, or I don't know, history legends, and then ask me to comment on these videos. What do you think the Biden admin is so scared to supply Ukraine enough win? As an American, some what's it is so frustrating. There are two big theories that are discussing this. Theory number one is that they don't have a consensus, that there are still some powers inside of like this coalition of European nation and so on that are very hesitant on the nuke situation, because everything is the nukes. Ukraine would have all the weapon it needs if it would be just conventional war. Everyone is so fucking shitting themselves about the nukes, it's kind of crazy. But there are powers, and Biden wants to have a unity, like a unified front. For him is more important than a specific nomenclature of supplied weapons. That is one thing. Second perspective that I've heard is that US has the plan of essentially starving the Russians out. They want to prevent the situation when Ukraine is going to reach essentially the 1991 borders, and then Russia will just regroup and prepare for the next stage. So instead, they're doing incremental destruction of Russians while buying times for their production facilities, their essentially their backline power to kick into full gear to supply weapons to Ukraine long term, and do it on a constant basis without sabotaging their own, how do you say, their own defense, right? So Ukraine gets the resource it needs over a long time, and Russia expands as much resource as they have. So once they're out to the border of Russia, that's it. The war stops because Russia just doesn't have any more resources. Those are the two like kind of perspectives that I am considering as realistic. Which one is the correct one? I cannot say. Blue Eyes 58, thanks for 10 memberships. I really appreciate it. All right, scrolling back up to read the questions. There we go. Back again. I heard some news about US considering full blockade of all goods or services from Russia. Any thoughts? Yes, Lavor Todorov. Yavor or Lavor? I cannot understand if the first letter is L or I. But if it's Yavor, also. It's a discussion of being between G7. G7 is discussing that because so far sanctions have been targeted, but they have not been... They have been very problematic to implement, costly. They have been costly because there was a lot of gray schemes and a lot of hidden points to go around these sanctions. So instead, the discussion is to simplify as to we block everything for Russia, we block everything for other countries as a resale options, and then we start releasing nomenclature of the things that we allow to go to Russia. So it's done to essentially simplify the bureaucracy around embargo on Russians, and especially secondary sanctions. It would be massive, because simplification works best when you're talking about bureaucracy. So as dumber, as simpler something is, the easier it gets. Whenever we start talking about specific nomenclature, some kind of conditions, whatnot, it starts becoming problematic. It starts really becoming an issue. Like, for example, when we had, I believe after 2014, there was the French night vision devices that were going into the Russian tanks. And these night vision devices, they were supplied by the contract that was ongoing since 2012. So after 2014, resale of these equipments were prohibited from Europe to Russia. But there was a caveat that on like current contracts can still be completed. And they had a contract with Russia that they could supply certain amount of night vision devices. So they just altered the contract and altered the length of the contract. So they technically were still doing what was allowed. So that was problematic. And those are a lot of like a loopholes that can be taken in the same sense. That's why simplification works better. So I am looking very optimistic if this will go through. As much as I like your gestures, I like to hear what you're saying. Yes, yes. Nice, nice. Other channels, okay, yeah, yeah. Can you give us another rundown of microphone works? No, not anymore. I heard that Secretary Austin said Ukraine received 1,500 IFVs and 230 tanks. Is this enough for initial counteroffensive? I don't know, because I don't know the scale, right? We don't know the scale of what General Zaluzhny has outlined to achieve, and we don't know what's was available for Ukraine, what they captured from Russians beforehand, because only thing that we have is the supplies from the Western world. So it's a little bit unclear. So, but we're gonna talk about it in just a second. Just a second. I need to go. Love y'all. Carnifexer, thank you so much again. Very nice seeing you here. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Jura Nefashu. Why do you think India position on Russia is not more pro-Western considering their disputes with China? And do you think India position will change? Why they need to be? You know, it's like India is a big trading partner with Russia. India gets a lot of stuff from Russia for cheap. So until that is damaging for India, it will continue doing it. So it's very hard. India is not a purely democratic state. So they have their own, it's like agenda. They would benefit if the West would be weaker, because that would naturally propel India upwards. So they are interested in the weaker West, in the weaker democracies in the West. Whereas if Russia just loses, that just again puts the world center stage all around the Western axis. So India has a lot of gain from Ukraine losing. Blue Eyes 58. When whole NATO is replacing their F-16s for F-35s, just give the F-16s to Ukraine. What's your thoughts? I mean, I just ranted about it. Yes, F-16s are not new planes. Like they have been, they're being decommissioned all around the block. So on the military specter, there is nothing about them that should prohibit supplying them to Ukraine. It's only the politics. It's only the tap dance of like, oh, escalation. Oh, no, not Putin. Dutch 1989, welcome. Sub-Hero, thanks. Welcome. Welcome. I mean, thanks for 10. Bulgarian. Oh my God, always forget. Lei was in Moldova. Leva. Thanks for 10 Leva. I now remember. And you actually wrote in euros. Slava Ukraini, my friend. Yes. Oh, chopped again. There we go. Kellen Dunn, Western delays cost precious Ukrainian soldiers' lives. They influence me. Yep. Same with me, Kellen. Ellie. Oh no, Ellie writing to someone. Okay. Axel Marner, how much is Sweden entering NATO a game changer? Not that much. If it happens as planned before summer. Biggest question was obviously Finland. Sweden is nice to have, and I'm really hoping will join. Sweden has very capable military. It would be a strengthening of alliance, but let's be honest, nothing is threatening NATO. Like NATO cannot be defeated. As for conflict with Russia, Russia would have a lot of damage done to European powers, but it has like already has no chance in life in defeating NATO. Sweden and Finland joining NATO is important because that extended the border with NATO significantly, and more importantly, now it's very close to Russia's strategic nuclear silos, not silos, but a submarine base that is located not that far in the north in Finland. So Finland is a game changer significantly. Sweden, by this point, with Finland, is already just kind of like a nice to have, but we would still welcome them open-heartedly. I mean, they should be there. Chapter than a stand-up comedy night and worth every penny. Thanks. Thanks. You're doing an amazing job. Keep it up. Thanks, Tiberio, for 10 Romanian. Is it lei? Hope it's lei. All right, a couple more questions, and then I'm gonna discuss the topic of today. What's your prospect of counteroffensive combination of thousands FPVs, drones, recon drones, CV-90s, Bradleys, in terms of digital combat link, Leo 2 Challenger with thermals? I mean, all those are really great capabilities. Like really, really good capabilities will allow Ukraine to do a lot of work. And that's what I expected to do a lot of work. So, but again, we don't know what's the Zaluzhny's plan, how deep, how far, how fast he wants to go. So all of what you described is capabilities and resources, right? And we need to transfer it into the gains. We'll see how well it's gonna happen. Nico, and Rick the Ukrainian dubs Zolkin vids in English. Yes. Do you agree with interviewing POWs? I mean, not really, to be honest. Because like POWs, like I think it would be nice to have a platform for POWs, but that's not exactly what is happening, right? Because like Zolkin, I'm not sure if Zolkin changed, but I was not very fond of this practice, because POWs, they can say whatever they want. I know that a lot of Ukrainians really wanted to hear that Russians are sorry that they didn't want this and so on, and a lot of POWs supposedly said it, but then like they cross the border back to Russia and they say something completely different. So it's been historically and well proven that inside of a POW camp, or being a POW, you will say everything, anything that is expected of you. So as much as Zolkin like shows, yes, we're not executing any pressure on them, we're giving them smokes, whatnot, I think it's not needed. I think just a little bit more like cold-heartedness would be better in this situation. So no, I do not fully support interviewing on prisoners of war, mostly because I see it only as like a part of the entertainment, and it's not really bringing a lot of the value to have it publicly. I think that POWs need to be interviewed by the military intelligence, and that's about it. Hi, SMM8 114 me. Thanks for $100. I appreciate it. John Richards, do you think the West has sent stuff for counteroffensive, none of even knowing about it? I mean, some of the stuff that was not sent precisely. Okay, I think we need to talk about it. Guys, if I haven't answered your question, wait up a bit. Let me have this short talk, and then we're going to talk, because this covers a lot. So let me put this up. Okay, notes. All right. What we learned, what one of the biggest things that I've learned during the release of these secret documents, the Pentagon leaks and so on, is something that I kind of didn't talk about before, but I couldn't really formulate it. I just was thinking it was back of my idea, and now it finally kicked in. The most important thing that we saw in these documents for me to understand was to understand how Ukraine is cooperating with Western allies. Because what we saw is a breakdown of like Ukraine is gonna supply, like they need to have 12 brigades, that was in documents, and then Western allies supplied 9 brigades and Ukraine supplies 3 brigades. This showed a significant change in how Ukraine was cooperating with the allies before. If we remember, at the start of the war and like by approximately mid-August, Ukraine was just asking for pretty much everything, and it was always public, it was always very discussed, and Ukraine was getting everything. So the nomenclature of stuff going to Ukraine was very, very diverse. However, at some point, I've noticed kind of that Ukraine started getting some of the things that I've heard some Ukrainian officials stating beforehand that they want to achieve. Like, we want to achieve this, and then slowly it started. But it didn't really materialize for me how that actually worked. And now, with the release of these documents, we understood a little bit more how that operates. So Ukraine now apparently agreed with allies that we will, instead of just getting supplies to Ukraine overall, instead we will focus for a specific operation that wants to be achieved. This is a very, very common like business logic. This is business goals. So you plan on like, what do you need to achieve? What's your goal setting? What's the target that you want to reach? And then for that target, you outline what are the resources necessary. And here we saw exactly that happening. This was a plan which was outlined that Ukraine said, for this operations to succeed, and if you want to support us, we need to have resources. Like, we need to have X number of men trained, and we need to have equipment. And we saw that pretty much for every brigade, where they describe like what is their primary transportation and support vehicles, what are their primary hitting power, what is their tanks, and what are their like artillery supporting pieces. And we saw that the countries started discussing in between themselves, rather than discussing what we can supply. It's more was like breaking down as quotas, as like, okay, we can support some of these parts, or like these countries support for these brigades and whatnot. So we saw a lot more focused cooperation, a lot more very kind of goal-oriented delivery schedule for how Ukraine needs to be supplied for their specific counteroffensive. That, for me, is major, because one of the big criticisms that I've heard is that the supplies to Ukraine are not extraordinary. Like, a lot more needs to be done, and I do believe a lot more needs to be done. First and foremost, like, some of the things need to be lifted for like for airplanes. Airplane needs to be supplied. ATACMS should be supplied anyway. Everything like this needs to be supplied. That is beyond the point. But when already there is a political decision made on supplying something, we see that the work behind those political decisions is extremely, extremely precise. So what does this mean going forward? That means that Ukrainian command will continue closely cooperating with Western powers, and Ukraine will continue discussing what targets they will need to set. And allies in between themselves, judging by their stocks, by their supply capacities, and so on, will come back to Ukraine and explain how much they can supply and in what fashion. So what we will see this war going forward is, after this counteroffensive, what will be the next kind of a go-to target Ukraine will set, to which then the allies will start supplying new nomenclature. So we will see that supplies to Ukraine are going to have periods of activities, and then there's going to be a little bit lull, and then there's going to be again a periods of activities. So the pattern is not going to be the same as last year, when like just every month, little by little, random stuff, whoever is sending, there it goes. It's going to be more seasonal, if to say. That means that potentially this will go longer, because we'll need to have those seasons outlined, because the plans always require certain preparation and is working. And I was very happy to see that this preparation is working, is happening. On the other hand, we're hearing something a lot better. Now, around September, there was a person that said, like a quite known person, that said that by spring, Russia will start running low on ammo. And that will be obvious for everyone to see. At that moment, no one really kind of noticed this expression, and some people just misunderstood it by saying it's like, oh, that person just said that Russia will run out of ammo. But that's not what he said, because the person said that the problems with Russian ammunition will be open for everyone to see. That person now, the same person, is saying that war might take a lot sharper turn, and that sharper turn might end up with Ukraine essentially being in proximity of Crimea already by the end of spring. So expectations outlined by that person are quite high. And more importantly, even beyond these occasion, that first occasion I mentioned, there were other predictions that that person said that came very, very true. Now, you can try to guess who that person is. Well, I mean, you already guessed it. Okay, never mind. That was the shortest guess possible. Yes, it was indeed Budanov. So the head of Ukrainian intelligence. So as much as Budanov is considered like a party of the war, and he's cocky as fuck. Like, he has some big dick energy in him. Like, he is like, that guy just has the vibes. Like, he is like a super young guy. He's already a general. He's killing Russians like a motherfucker. Like, whole Kraken unit, the badasses, like, he's leading that. Just, oh, like, that guy is just rolling in dough. Not dough, but like rolling in clout and whatnot. But yeah, he's super Chad. Exactly. He is Chad for sure. But, and besides that, he is stating that, yes, I am confident that Ukraine is going to reach Crimea. And so far, despite being technically on the warring side, he has been very accurate. That is why I am very optimistic about the coming counteroffensive. That is why. Because Budanov has been predicting certain things that came true very, very accurately, even in timeline and so on. And those are the things that no one was saying. No one at last autumn, including myself, was saying that Russia is going to run out of ammo. I listened to Budanov and I was like, yes, but that's what he's supposed to say. You know, he's a intelligence officer of Ukraine. Like, he's supposed to like spout essentially like all the good stuff, like to make sure that Ukraine is going to get supported. And then we come spring, and Russia is running out of ammunition. What the hell? What the hell? So I recently very much reviewed like the position that I have on Budanov, and we're gonna see how this counteroffensive gonna go. But what I want to put you guys on, and I want to like you to take note of him, is continue listening to what Budanov has to say. And let's see if he's right with this one or not. I am really hoping he is, because so far he's been quite good. 50 leva from Bulgaria for the victory. All right, let's go back for the conversation. Dumb Trump, remember the accord memorandum, whereas Ukraine would receive all aid if Ukraine was ever military attacked, failed state, Russia busted up that deal, part one. Do you mean the Budapest memorandum? Yeah, I read the Budapest memorandum. It's super vague. Like, if that was the paper which when Ukraine signed off all of their nuclear weapons and there was no secret protocols, then that's the dumbest shit ever. Like, because that paper, that piece of paper states that that in case of I'm actually gonna read it. Like, why do I need to? Budapest memorandum. We can all read it. There we go. Let's read it. Wikipedia to the fucking rescue. Oh, wrong window. There we go. Woo. Nope. Nope. Okay, my camera is not working for some reason. Better. There we go. So Budapest memorandum. There we go. So content. Uh, yes. So they say we need to sign the independent sovereignty existing borders, yada yada. There we go. Seek immediate Security Council action to provide assistance to the signatory if they should become a victim of an act of aggression or an object of a threat of aggression in which nuclear weapons are used. That's not very good. That's not very good statement. That's a little bit vague. Let's put it mildly. So yeah, Budapest memorandum. I'm not a big fan of it, especially how Ukraine just gave up all of the carriers of the missiles. Like, I understand giving up nuclear missiles, yes, but Ukraine also gave up on all of the carriers of the missiles, all of the missiles themselves. They didn't need to be right-handed, right? Why? Why the missiles? Like, they're not nuclear. Oh, memorandum part 2. We are busting guts to help all we can. UK stands with Ukraine, including ongoing training and hardware. Wait. That's the let's fuck up Russia camp. You mean that one? Was it the Tallinn pledge? It was the Tallinn pledge, right? Where it was in Estonia. It was, I believe, a UK, Denmark. Was it Norway or Sweden? And then Baltic countries, Poland. Was that one? Was it that one? I hope it is that one. If that one, yes. And we recently heard that they are considering more supplies, sending more supplies and more procurement options for Ukraine, and they are doing their job. Yes. Wikipedia isn't a reliable source, right? Who said that? Like, who said that Wikipedia is not a reliable source for a ground level knowledge is wrong. Like, Wikipedia is perfectly fine if you're not trying to do an academic research on. Like, if you are okay from time to time to be wrong and corrected and just trying to understand some basic stuff, Wikipedia is perfectly fine. Moreover, like 95% of whatever question is discussed, Wikipedia can be more or less understood and is like, okay, now I'm informed. Now, if you want to do academic research about how accurate or not accurate certain events were, that is a whole different aspect. For daily knowledge, Wikipedia is perfectly fine. Okay, Zolkin. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, write at Ukraine Matters. Yeah, we talk about parading. Oh, cool. You didn't ask any questions. Nice. Good. Robert H. Oh, my bad. I prefer personally the academic stuff, but this explains it. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Robert, no, I love myself. Like, most of the things that I find, like, my personal search engine of choice is Google Scholar. Like, I read mostly when I try to understand certain topic, especially in depth. And if it's a new topic, I like to first read Wikipedia to understand what I'm talking about. And then I take some of the keywords and then I go into the Google Scholar. And then I do the breakdown of like citation, trustworthiness, journal, search up, the standard shit. Ukraine was framed by KGB to they would sell nukes to the terrorists. There was no way that US, UK would be inside of those nukes, didn't go back to Russia. Noob, I agree. But again, nukes or carriers. If nukes are in question, Ukraine just could have given up nukes. Why did it have to go and do the carriers as well? On Malcolm Nann's controversy, at least partly relates to his time in Ukrainian Foreign Legion. Would be great if you have resources to consult on this. I haven't, like, I only learned about Malcolm Nance today, and I also learned today that he has some kind of controversy around him, so I still haven't, I don't know what it is. Oh. I've also written the letter Z with a parallel line in the middle. Ukrainians should be writing a Z differently in the future. I mean, Ukrainians don't write Z. Ukrainians have Cyrillic alphabet, not Latin one. Do you think Western helicopters would help like Blackfoot? Yes, yes, yes. Like, we need to understand, whenever you're thinking, Brian, about would this help Ukraine? Ukraine needs everything. So the question that you asked me, for me, sounds like, does Ukraine need more shit? And the answer is yes. Yes. There is never enough shit in war that you need. Ukraine can use everything. Do you even care about questions? Yes. Yes, I do care. I do care about questions. F-16 now. Hit the train tracks. Zack, Captain Hello. So correct. Captain Halo, where are you from? If you don't mind, by the way, if you don't mind sharing that would be nice. Do you think Western helicopter? Yeah, okay. Is there still mud in Melitopol area? Yes, it's been raining. I've been following very closely up for the how do you say, the meteorological data. And it's been like, okay, it's going to rain for a week, but then it's going to get sun. A week passes, and then I check again, and it's like, oh, it's going to rain for a week, and then it's going to be the sun. And now the whole month of April has been like this. It's dog shit over there. It's like never gets dry. It's still muddy, yeah. Did you see new logo on the Ukrainian vehicles? Oh, shit, wait, I need to share because I'm pretty sure you haven't seen this. Oh my God, the new logo. So the new logo on the Ukrainian vehicles is the arrow, and there is already some bullshit propagandists that just couldn't hold it. So they're like, yeah, it's a Nazi symbol. Have you seen? It's an arrow. It's a Nazi symbol. Oh, Ukraine, so Nazi, couldn't. Oh shit! Oh, it's amazing. I love Russian propagandists. I love Russian propagandists. They are the silliest ever. Uh, all right. Yes. When did you realize Russia won't win a war against Ukraine? Ooh, that's a good question, actually, NGC. Thank you. When did I realize that Russia won't win a war against Ukraine? So Russia is huge, right? People always looked at Ukraine, especially people on the Eastern Europe, and Ukraine was always this very, very sad point for a lot of people in Eastern Europe. It was a country that felt that they always have had something more, but they always bouncing between, should we hang out with Russia or should we hang out with all of the European folks here? And Ukraine was also known for corruption, poverty, and so on. So there was not a lot of belief in it. However, since 2014, a lot of that started shifting. We saw that Ukraine is actually resisting Russians and fighting it. So there was that. With that said, Ukraine also, we didn't understand the scale of how big the changes were inside of Ukrainian military. For me, when I saw the video where Ukrainian column, like around Brovary, not Russian column tank around Brovary, was ambushed like from 15 meters away. There was a guy with RPG, and it was ambushed from like 15 meters away, and tanks just started scattering and ran. I was like, these guys are idiots. These guys are fucking stupid. Like, it was kind of before, but that was the moment it just like completely slapped me. Like, just like, stupid. And at that moment, I was like, so wait, if the invasion was stupid, because I'm looking at all these burned vehicles, if the operations are stupid because we already that knew that they were looking for the roads how to get to Kiev because they were using old maps. And even if the tactical level, like the ground level, are stupid, like with tanks running out of fuel, with tanks like not even realizing there is an ambush like 5 meters away from you. At that moment, I was like, they are just dumb, aren't they? And I think at that moment, it kind of already clicked for me. I was still uncertain, but at that moment, I had pretty good track on the idea that Russia has pretty lost like this, like at least the initial stage. And then I started following the analysts very, very closely. What are they saying? And they explain why it was such a big strategic defeat for Russia. Why you cannot just send your elite troops in a marching order, get them decimated, and then continue winning the war. So I believed that Ukraine would survive at that moment. As for that Ukraine will win was when Ukraine stopped Russian offensive after Lysychansk and Severodonetsk. When I just saw that Russia couldn't even retake Donbass as they stated on during the June July, and then we started seeing HIMARS in action. At that moment, I understood like, nope, that's it. Russia cannot do it. So took me a while, a bit, but overall, yeah. Predator, I haven't heard if he's okay or not, but maybe I'll find out. So I don't know. JC the Music Man, have you heard anything about how Ukraine will handle the Black Sea Fleet? Drones. I've heard a lot that Ukraine has prepared quite a lot of drones for the Black Sea Fleet. Samuel Farias, how has war changed you and Ukraine as a whole? Oh, it's a long answer, man. That's a long ass answer to say. I became a YouTuber. There we go. Ha! Easy change. There we go. But it's like it's a long question. Sorry, I just don't feel like answering. It's been already we're streaming for like 2 hours. Well, okay, hour and a half now. So let's ask this question me again some other time. I'm really I don't want to dig too much into this. Maybe because I'm digging into myself every day far too much. I also sent a link for the article on Nance. Ooh, thank you. Did I receive it? I hope I received it. Voices of Ukraine. That's not the link. That's not the link. I haven't seen it. Anyway, maybe it's on Discord. Join Discord. By the way, drop by Discord. Come to Discord. We're chatting there, and we're gonna actually integrate Discord into the live streams at some point. I'm hoping you will love it. But join the Discord. Seems like the pro-Russian people in the West are crazier than the actual Russian MOD. Because you need to be really fucking nuts to believe whatever Russians are saying. Because, like, you need to be really fringe. You need to really hate your own country, and you really need to hate democracy and prosperity and human lives to support Russia. Or be really fucking stupid. That's also a possibility. Bayraktar, where are you at? Still doing their job. I heard the Ukrainian water drones are not effective after Russia puts netting around the Black Sea Fleet. Is this true? They made precautions around the drones, but remember, adaptation is the name of the game of the war. It's always about adaptation and so on. They put the netting, yes, but Ukrainians are not standing in its place as well. So we're always like considering, like we as humans, we're always thinking about the previous time, right? The previous situation. So something happens and we're like, oh wow, can it be prevented? And then it's like, oh, but they already did it, so Russia already prevented. Yes, but new things are coming. I don't know, helicopter drop water drones, whatever. I don't know. Who knows? If you have too long answer, you could say TLDR, I became a YouTuber. Explain why before not going to do it. Robert H. If you have a too long answer, you could say TLDR, I became a YouTuber, question mark. I explained why before, not going to do it again. Robert, I'm completely missing the point that you're making it here. Like, I'm seriously missing the point that you're trying to ask here. If it's a question, then I'm just misunderstanding. Sorry, brain fart, whatever. Uh, but I don't know. JC the Music Man, I really want to start a channel. Good for you, man. You should. I have something to add. I'm just a big chicken and plagued with trying to over edit everything. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a big, how do you say, editing kind of guy. Have you noticed? I mean, my editing, to say roughly, sucks compared to some of the others. But you know, it's like I'm having things to say, and I never started this channel that to get to someone. I believe I've noticed people like, and they've been reaching out to me in mail and so on, and they say like, oh, can you give me a shout out, and I want to try to do this and that, and I want to start a channel, like, can you help promote me, can you help me grow? Some person even asked me like if I can hire him, like full blown, and send me CV whatnot. I was like, what the fuck is that? So with all respect, man, like, what the fuck have you been thinking? I'm a guy on YouTube. Like, it's quite interesting. I think sometimes it's just about doing, and I don't know. I'm not in a position to analyze because I was not planning this channel. I'm not a professional YouTuber in a sense that like this is not my living. I'm not dedicating all my life how to improve this channel. I would, you know, who I ask Artur Rehi. Ask Artur Rehi because he wanted to have a channel right from the get-go. He really wanted to become a blogger. I'm pretty sure he can give you a lot better advice than I would ever do because I'm just like stupid. Yeah, 24th of February changed a lot. I mean, 24th of February changed, like it turned all my life over completely on its head. What do you make out of Prigozhin seemingly to be one of the few Russians that actually acknowledge that the Russians are struggling? He's not acknowledging that. He's just using that statement to undermine the Ministry of Defense and say everything is bad, everything is shit, but we are the ones that they're only doing good on the front lines. So it's kind of that he's just using this as a rhetorical argument. It might not even be, he might not even believe it. Who knows? Isn't title of the stream live our stream on purpose, by the way? What? Wait, what? I thought the title of the stream is Ukraine's counteroffensive can be a game changer. It's not live our stream. What? Live our stream. What do you mean? Like, guys, can you explain what's do you also see the title of this stream as live our stream? Robert, my fault. My grammar sucks. Sorry, didn't read properly before sending. I'm tired. Going to sleep. Good night. Good night, Robert. Thank you so much. Sorry for misunderstanding, man. John Poulter, your editing is shitload better than mine. The channel's quality, George. Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm trying to do as best as I can, but as I explained all the time, guys, I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as I go. I'm really struggling sometimes. Like Obsidian, like if you want to know frustration, like if you feel frustrated with what I'm doing or not doing, like Ellie is 10 times more frustrated because I'm supposed to do so much stuff to make this channel like good, actually good. And I'm like not doing even half of it. Like she is so frustrating at me. Says like, "Oh my God, Georgie, you're so good, but like you really need to get your shit together." That's what she would say. I'm pretty sure. Do you think Ukraine can attack inside Russia and use captured territory as a bargaining chip? I don't expect that. No, I don't think Ukraine will do that. Russians are stating that, but there is no need. There is no need because it might, but I think instead, it would be better if Ukraine would capture a lot of Russian troops and then use that as a bargaining chip rather than capturing some of the Russian territory. But I've heard that tossed around here and there. But overall, I don't believe it's going to happen. Do you think it is odd that there is almost no shit talking from Putin himself? No doubt he uses others for it, but I thought we would be much more bombastic. Well, Putin was never bombastic. He's never was a bombastic. He was Mr. Stability. He was like, I'm gonna make shit stable. You just don't need to participate. Like he's the guy that's like, okay, I'm just gonna do. He's a backroom back player. Like he's a KGB agent, right? Spotlight is not really his place. Besides, he knows that like if you don't say anything, then there is less chance of you saying something wrong. So that's the kind of guy Putin is. Like it's the KGB school. And with that said, whenever he speaks, like a lot of times he's really wrong. So shit talking is not really Putin's vibe. I'm pretty sure he's a lot more vengeful in his own little man way. Your channel is fantastic. Thank you. Glad that you like it. Yeah, Ukraine's counteroffensive can be a game changer. Ukraine Matters live stream. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't say our stream, right? So it's fine. Thanks. Do you think Kaliningrad will still exist after this war? You mean Kralovets? Kralovets will exist, yes. But it should go to its rightful owner. Kralovets region has democratically voted to join Czechia, so we should respect that. How to explain Westerners that Russians have different mentality? They do not grasp those people, do not know what humanism, enlightenment, and civil society is, never touched by these ideas. Yeah, Carl, that's pretty, like you described basically half of my job, half of like good couple dozens of YouTubers that are really trying to explain it. It is hard. It is hard because it's like the same as like saying, well, how do we make sure that the, like for example, United States or like not United States, let's take big country like Canada understands problem of Bangladesh, you know, smaller country, different climate, different things, like everything is just different. And it can be understood logically, right? But it's very hard to do emotional. So that's why, for example, when Western leaders visit Ukraine, they are taken to Bucha, they're taken to Irpin, because at that moment they are experiencing a sliver of what Ukrainians are experiencing, and it's a hard job. It's a hard job, and so especially for Ukrainians, it's extremely hard to especially listen when people say it's like, well, just give them like some territory and Russian will go away. That's not an actual argument. You know, it's so silly on so many levels, this argument. But in Western mind it works because they are not as invested in understanding like this. And getting in someone invested is only if a person wants to get invested. That's why when I started this channel, why I wanted to take this lighter angle, you know, more optimistic, more positive and whatnot, because I saw this precisely issue that you're talking. I was so afraid that people here in the West will give up on Ukraine. I was really scared that war in Ukraine will become like a third pager, like it will come off the headlines. So I was trying to like, well, how can I help and maybe, you know, raise the awareness about it and like do it and so on. And do it in like this optimistic, interesting way, just so people kind of keep it in their mind. And as they are keeping it in their mind, they're going to get a little bit by little invested. So I think that is important. And that's why I think, for example, when people say, like, oh, how you can make jokes, like there are hundreds and thousands of people, like there are thousands of people dying every day. You should be like sad or you should be serious or whatnot. Yes, but we need to understand that seriousness and sadness is a big killer of support. It becomes really hard on people to continue their support. And for Ukraine to win, we in the West need to remember about Ukraine, need to remember and remind our politician, remind everyone that we still care, that literally Ukraine matters. So that is the biggest challenge that anyone on the English speaking information space targeted towards the Western viewers is asking themselves every day. And me too. Luke Skywalker, thanks. OCT, thanks for 5 gifted stop. I really appreciate it. Operator Starsky got the idea out where to say the Russian way. The Russian way is very bad. Yes. Oh, Starsky is great. Starsky is really, really nice. I'm learning Ukrainian and know the tak can mean 6 different things. Yeah. Tak. It's so funny because in Ukrainian tak means yes, but in Danish tak means thank you. So it's a little bit funny when Ukrainians come to Denmark. So now they are like tak. What? Fun fact: Kralevets was named after the Czech king Ottokar II. So it's legit. Yes. Mr. Dix, I have started my channel on the 1st on the January 2023 for Ukraine, CPR, AD, education, media, and sports channel, mostly with comic relief. Cool. Join up on Mr. Dix channel. Mr. Dix, can you post a link to your channel? Let people join up. Graham, doing well but getting really tired. Over 2 hours, get some therapy with Vlad Vexley. Yes. I'm also going to slowly wrap up, guys. We're 1500s. Just like a couple of more questions, and we're going to slowly start wrapping up today. Let's say 5 minutes more. You okay with that? I'm okay with that. Question: is your wife proud of what you're doing YouTube, or does she think you are staying in your room too much and shouting at the internet? It's both. Sometimes she thinks that she loses the understanding sometimes that what I'm doing is for Ukraine. So whenever we're discussing it, like when we're talking, it's like, oh, I want to do YouTube, or I want to do a video, like I'm this, like this, and she's like, but I'm having a game, and then because I'm asking always like Natalia, like can you like just like while I'm recording a video, like for 10 minutes, like don't yell, and she's like, oh no, but I have a game. She's a big Xbox player. She would be a little bit mad. But then other times I'm saying, okay, we're able to send like some additional donations this month. Like, do you know like any like, because some of her relatives are well, also my relatives because of family are in the military. Like, have you talked to your relative? Like, does he need more support? Can we send some more equipment to them and so on? Are they going somewhere, etc. So like that at that moment she's like, oh yeah, wow, it's so nice that you're doing this. So it's 50-50. Do you believe that Ukraine was planning to hit Russian forces in Syria? Not sure. I believe that. I don't know. Like, to be honest, Ukraine in Syria, what? There's a lot about this story that smells bullshit. There were a couple of these stories from these leaks that were essentially citing the intelligence, but the intelligence source was, I overheard essentially a person X say Y, and this is really smelling to me like this. So for me, this is not qualifying as any kind of proof or justification that something happened. I need more. Okay, good. Sub-Hero, thanks again for Leva. What games she plays, Georgie? She plays some Chinese game. Oh yeah, no judgment there. It's called Naraka Blade Point. She's also playing like Minecraft with some friends and Monster Hunter, I believe. Before you go, could you show us how your chair works? What do you mean? Like, this is a IKEA chair called Marcus. It's one of the probably most common chairs in the world, and it's nothing fancy. It's just an IKEA chair. Like, it's doesn't have any special features. I mean, like you can sit in it. So It's not a super fancy share. What are you drinking on today's live stream? I am drinking Danish like cider. It's called, oh my god, I need to hide my face. Yeah, it's called Sommersby. It's apple cider. I hope it's Danish, by the way. Like I'm saying it's Danish, maybe it's not. Yes, Carlsberg. So Carlsberg, Denmark. So just some Sommersby, but I did basically 2 sips. Thanks. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. I really appreciate it. Okay, and the last question. Data nerds rule. Yeah, agree. Okay, any last couple of questions about something else? Westerners more. Yes. Cool. Sommersby is also made in Estonia. I mean, it's Carlsberg. I'm pretty sure it's made many places. Looks like you have created a meme where you explain how some piece of tech works and break it while doing so. That sounds great. All right, guys. I love you all. I really appreciate you joining here. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts, ideas. Remember, support Ukraine. Explain why Ukraine matters. If you have 5 minutes, write to your local representatives. But more importantly, we'll see you guys next time. Slava Ukraini. Ooh, wrong.